Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Building a portfolio with Fidelity Basket Portfolios is kind of like making a sandwich. It's as simple as picking your stocks and ETFs, sort of like your meats and other topics, and managing it as one big, juicy investment. Now that's pretty good. Learn more at fidelity.com/baskets. Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE SIPC.
And welcome to Undertow, Realm's podcast dedicated to tales of the weird and the wicked. I'm your host, director, and producer, Fred Greenhalgh. We're on to the 5th and final part of Carrion Harvest, written by Morgan Sylvia, read by Jessica Taige. Where do you bug out to when the monsters are Godzilla-sized bugs? As hope starts to diminish rapidly, Sprout reflects on the final damning chapter of her life with her mom and Harvey, here in part 5 of Carrion Harvest.
I don't know how much time passed before that last battle died down. As soon as things quieted, I slipped out to go check on Estelle. I still wasn't allowed out, but there were no longer enough guards to stop me. Everything was silent, lifeless. The fields were barren and empty, save the corpses and the things feeding on them. The moon had turned red in the sky. Blood moon, I thought, remembering Mama pointing it out to me as a child. Every moon has a name. The trees were shrouded in webs. I saw egg sacs here and there. Elsewhere, wrapped shapes that I realized were human bodies. I froze, feeling the fear pulling through me. "Control it," Mama had said. I took a deep breath and started running. The training I had been doing served me well, but I was still gasping for breath when I reached her. Estelle was on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, Rufus curled up beside her. I breathed a sigh of relief when I saw her. "I couldn't get away. I've been so worried about you. Come back with me. We have a bunker and food. You'll be safe there." "That's so sweet of you to offer. I was worried about you too," she smiled sadly. "I'm afraid I have to decline, though. Only place I'm going is the spirit world." I frowned. "What do you mean? Why?" She moved the blanket away, and I saw the blood seeping through her shirt, just as it had mine. My heart sank. What happened? "I had a run-in with a hornet I'm not particularly fond of." I leaned forward to get a closer look. The wound was bad. I'm no doctor, but the black, rotting flesh, pus, and foul smell told me everything I needed to know. Once I'd seen it, I saw how pale and weak she was. I sat back on my heels, fighting tears, found the strength to lie to her. "We can get you help. We have doctors at the house." She shook her head. "There's no help. It's too late for that. I feel the infection." Tears rolled down my face. She patted my hand. "Don't fret, my pet. We get born one day and die on another. It's what we do in between that matters." She drew a thin, raspy breath. "Take me outside. I want to see the stars before they call me home." "But it's getting cold out." I couldn't think of anything else to say. She smiled wanly. "I won't feel the cold much longer, or the rain. Take me to the hives, and let Rufus and the birds out, if you can't take them with you. At least they'll have a chance." I did what she asked. tears blurring my vision. I didn't think I could carry her, but somehow I managed. I set her down gently with her blanket before the dead hives and held her hand. We sat quietly for a while. Minutes, hours, I don't know. And then the chaos found us again. The sounds were distant at first. Shouts, crashes, screams, and gunfire. I turned to look. At first I saw nothing, but then I began to make out flashlights and headlights in the woods. I stood up, hearing something crashing. A few of the treetops shook. My heart started pounding in my chest. "I think you'd better go," Estelle said. "Run." "I'm not leaving you here by yourself." I never finished. The crashing sound grew louder, and then a scorpion the size of a bus emerged from the woods. Its back was covered with babies. Estelle saw it coming and levered herself up. She looked at me, her eyes shining in the red moonlight. "Run. I'm already dead. No point in you dying with me. Go." And so I ran. I tore away through the woods, branches tearing at my clothing and my hair like bony fingers. I stopped and looked back once to see the beast lifting Estelle's severed head to the sky. There came the report of gunfire. Whatever ammo they were using wounded it. The thing fell with an ear-splitting screech of rage. As it crumpled, the scorplings scattered, as though darkness had shattered into a million pieces. The mother looked at me. I don't know if it was Rosie or not, but something told me it was. It stared right at me, then turned and scuttled away, wounded, dropping Estelle's head. Suddenly, I saw lights all around me, flashlight beams cutting through the forest. Further away, the baying calls of dogs filled the air. Voices carried through the night. "There she is!" A hand on my arm jerked me back. I turned and found Redbeard glaring at me. "What the fuck are you doing out here?" He then spoke into his walkie-talkie. "We have strawberry banana. Repeat, strawberry banana is safe." He grabbed my arm and started hauling me off. I dug my feet in. "I have to get Rufus." He refused to stop. "We can't help him now." I looked back. The last thing I saw was the scorpion scuttling off into the night. "Move!" Redbeard barked into my ear, pointing. "That way! Go, go, go!" And I was running again. A military truck approached, hauling up the driveway. Redbeard pointed me to it, shouting at me to haul ass. One of the soldiers reached out a hand as I drew near. I grabbed it and was half pulled, half lifted inside. Redbeard turned to fire at the moving night before us as a churning, tangled maelstrom of legs and thoraxes and monstrous eyes approached. He took out some of those in the front, climbing in only when the driver yelled at him to hurry up. Then we were flying down the road, the men firing back into the woods. I curled into a ball on the floor, jolted this way and that, and put my hands to my ears to try and drown out the gunfire. Suddenly, the vehicle lurched one way and then the other. I stuck my head up and saw a solifuge in the path behind us, massive pincers emerging from its mouth. It started chasing us, sectioned abdomen flashing with reflected moonlight. The thing was fast, impossibly fast. The soldiers screamed codes and curses. "Fucking go!" the guard shouted at the driver. We accelerated. The thing nearly caught us, then dropped back at the last second. "We're not going to make it in time," one of them said. "Floor it!" "I am," the driver yelled back. We were almost home when the bombs dropped. I heard a distant crash, and when I looked back, I saw the sky lit with a sickly glow. "Look down," one of them shouted at me. "Don't look in any direction. There may be more. Just look down." I heard a terrible thunder in the distance. We were back at the mansion in a few minutes, but it seemed like hours. Redbeard marched me straight to the elevator. "Don't come out." He more or less shoved me into it, wagging his finger in my face. "Do not come out, no matter what you hear." Then he shut the doors. The last thing I saw as the door shut was his face as he turned and raised his weapon. I realized that he was resigned to death. We spent 60 days in the bunker before coming out at all. Most of those days were very, very quiet. We watched reports of the bombing on the news until communications went down. The last transmission we got from the outside world said that LA had been overrun and there were rumors that the army was planning to nuke the city. Outside, the yellow wind filled with screams. The cities were ruins by spring. Amber memories turned gray. Gray skies turned red and then brown. Mama and I scribbled poems and eulogies on the cement walls as the bombs dropped. We wrote the names of everyone we knew in all of the cities that were hit and then in all of the countries that were hit. It was her idea. I guess she too wanted to leave a record, even if no one survived to read it. World War III, I wrote, started by spiders. I read a lot. Harvey had included I read Frankenstein over and over. Eventually, things got quiet. The gunfire stopped. The woods echoed with chitters and screeches, but not as much. "It's over now," Mama said. She brushed my hair back from my forehead. "They'll reopen the highways soon. We'll go into the city for tea." I looked at her in shock. Tea? I saw the madness in her eyes then. She was fighting so hard for denial that it was tearing her apart. She was as broken as she had been the night the cops stepped onto our rotted porch, but better at hiding it. She forced a smile. Her voice shook. "Sushi?" "There's no sushi anymore, Mama," I said as gently as I could. And then she held me, as she had that long ago night, and we cried together again. Eventually, we grew quiet. She looked at me, her eyes glassy. "I have a confession to make," she says. "I hexed Harvey. I charmed him, and then I hexed him. He gives us what we ask." I realized very, very slowly what that meant, what she'd done. Whoever knew that she would be the one led us into madness. I started laughing. She looked at me, confused, her eyes watery, red-rimmed, empty. "What's so funny?" The stories were true. "What stories?" "Jamie told me tales," I said. "An urban legend that the gate of hell was in this valley." "Who's Jamie, dear?" My laughter fell silent. Eventually, there was a shift. The endless identical days came to an end. Harvey decided it was safe to emerge, even if only for short periods. Many of the soldiers left, not because they had won, but because they were needed elsewhere. The beasts were already multiplying, reproducing far faster than they should. There were still egg caches in the lab, Harvey said, but now that was one of thousands of such spots. The military was identifying sites and bombing them. We went upstairs cautiously. The house reeked. The solar panels had failed, with no sun visible beneath the thick yellow-brown clouds. All of the food in our fridges had rotted. I stepped out onto the marble front porch, emerging into a dead world. Everything around me was yellow and brown. Skies, water, forest, clouds, corpses. The fields were withering, yellow, dead. We found Andy in the guest house, his shirt stained red with blood, his pale eyes staring into some realm I could sense but not see. When we tried to move him, his mouth opened and some sort of millipede crawled out. Eliza was in the garden, her torso shredded from within. I went to the old stone tower and climbed the steps, my progress painstakingly slow. When I finally reached the top, I stood staring out at the ruins as yellow smoke drifted past me. I could see them in the distance, huge, lumbering things. I don't know how long I was up there before an armored car turned up the drive. Oswald got out. Great, I thought. Now I have to deal with him, too. I hoped the spiders or the solifuge across the field would get him, but they didn't seem to notice him. Oswald's appearance wasn't exactly a social call. His house had been destroyed by a drone strike, so he'd decided to leave his bunker for ours. I was less than thrilled, but to my surprise, he left me alone, or sometimes talked to me about old movies. Eventually, I learned that he'd lost his family in the first days of the undoing. Something about the experience, the grief, softened him somehow, made him human again. He told me stories about his war days, even talked about some CIA stuff. I guess he figured confidentiality didn't really matter anymore. I even started playing chess with him. I was in the process of taking his queen one day when I decided to get an iced tea from one of the supply rooms. And that's where I was when the explosion rocked the whole bunker. The walls shook and the floors rumbled and dust fell from the ceiling. I heard a huge crash and a dust cloud rush down the hall from the lab. The shelves around me shook and several of them fell over. Then, everything went dark. I woke beneath the earth in near total darkness. I became aware of a weight on me and realized that something heavy was pinning me to the ground. One of the shelves had fallen onto my leg. I wriggled myself free, decided that I was bruised but not broken. The main lights were out. We were running on backup, which only dimly illuminated the hall. Every hair on my body stood on end as I realized that the beasts had breached the steel doors, separating the bunker from the lab. I heard the tiniest sound behind me, a scrape, and realized that there was something there in the darkness with me. I turned to find the beast before me, filling the hall, blocking the light behind. I saw the gleam of light on her thorax as she edged forward, the iridescent sheen of her carapace, the pedipalps raised to strike. Her eyes, 8 of them, bore into me. Alien, haughty, familiar. "Hi," I said, backing up. "You're a bit too big for fruit flies now, aren't you?" She froze, tilted her head. We stared at each other, something of recognition passing between us. Then she crouched back, preparing to strike. I expected her to take my head, to dismember me, to rip me in half as I had seen others of her kind do. I moved back, baring my throat, welcoming the fangs that would pierce my flesh. Instead, there was just a blinding slice of pain in my arm. I held my breath as long as I could, then opened my eyes. Her face was inches from mine. We stared at one another, transfixed. Then she scuttled away. I stumbled down the hall back to the rec room where we usually gathered. My last image of Mama is one I cannot scrape from my mind, however hard I try. If there's a moment that splits me in half, it's the one when I saw her, crumpled on the ground, covered in blood, a hairy pincer jutting out through her stomach. Her eyes looked at me, glassy with fear. I got there just in time to hold her hand as she passed. It was my father's name she spoke in those last moments. I remember kneeling beside her, touching her bloody cheek as the color drained from it. There were so many things I wanted to ask about our family. I bent over her, weeping, until I felt a hand on my shoulder. I look up, see Oswald standing there, 3 of the surviving soldiers behind him. "I'm sorry," he said. "We have to burn her, now. She's infected." I sniffed, wiped my eyes, got to my feet. "Where's Matt?" "He was upstairs," Harvey said. "I'm sure he's fine. I don't want to go up until we're sure everyone here is." Harvey pauses mid-sentence, points at my arm. "What is that?" I looked down, saw the blistering wound. Harvey grabbed my arm and pulled out a knife. What are you doing? Stop it! I tried to pull my arm back, but Harvey refused to let go. He was surprisingly strong despite his skinniness. You have to bleed the poison out, he said, his eyes wild and mad. Like a snake bite, it worked on one of the prisoners. I froze in place. My poisoned blood ran cold. Prisoners? A colder voice spoke from the other side of the room. He's right. I looked over, saw Oswald leaning against the wall, covered in dust. There was blood on his face. He didn't seem to notice. You should bleed, he said. It may not work, but we know what happens if it doesn't. So I bled, as he told me to. As soon as they decided I'd bled enough, Harvey let me go and picked Mama up. He didn't say anything more, just disappeared into the shadowy halls. I stood there, my blood still spattering onto the floor. Someone bandaged it, but I didn't even look to see who it was. I didn't want to be alone with Oswald, so I walked out and went down the hall. The door to the lab wasn't just open, it wasn't there anymore. I wandered through the halls for some time. In retrospect, that was dumb. I should have been worried about finding more of the beasts. I shouldn't have been in there at all, but I was numb and dazed and really not thinking straight. Most of the labs were empty, but I did find several gardens thriving. The last one was full of apple trees. I picked a scarlet fruit and bit into it. It tasted like blood and ash. I found the generals, the gray cold lords, slumped, sprawled, in some cases scattered in an executive room, tongues swollen and sticking out of their mouths, scorplings crawling all over them. Other rooms were empty or locked. I tried door after door. I don't even know why, I was just moving as my thoughts and grief spun and churned inside me. I kept moving, eventually finding a room full of dead men in gray pajamas. I just stood there, staring until Matthew's ear-piercing shrieks roused me. I went back to the bunker and found Matthew in hysterics. Harvey was trying to soothe him. Mama's in the sky now, he kept saying. She's in the clouds. Comfort had never been Harvey's strong suit. His words only upset Matthew more. Call her! Matthew screamed. He was so hysterical he was choking on his sobs. His face was so red I feared he would hyperventilate. Call her down from the sky! I put my arms around his shoulders, pulled him to me. We can't, Matthew. She's gone from us now. Mama's words rang into my thoughts. I have to tell you something, honey. I have to tell you something bad, and I need you to be strong. You never really knew her, I wanted to tell him. But he was still shaking, telling us to call her back. He repeated those words like a mantra, saying them over and over, so frantic I feared he would hyperventilate. I tried to cuddle him. Matthew, you still have us. He pushed away. It's my fault, he sobbed. It's my fault she's gone. This is all my fault. I brushed the hair from his forehead as Mama had mine. No, it's not. This isn't your fault at all. But it is! He was crying so hard by then he was starting to choke. His face was red and he was gulping air between sobs. It is my fault. I brought your pets down here and released them while you were in the hospital. I didn't want them to starve. We both stared at him. You did what? Harvey asked. Matthew started crying harder. I'm sorry, he kept saying. I didn't want them to be hungry or cold. Harvey stared at his son. Then he just shuffled out the door. I found him hours later sitting in the hall, weeping, his head in his hands.
You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. If you've ever shopped online, and let's face it, who hasn't? Chances are you've bought something from a business powered by Shopify. You know that purple Shop Pay button you see at checkout? The one that makes buying so incredibly easy? That's Shopify. And there's a reason so many businesses sell with it, because Shopify makes things easier, and not just for shoppers. They make it easy to start and run your business. Shopify is the commerce platform behind 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. It gives you a leg up from day dot, with hundreds of beautiful ready-to-go templates to express your brand style so you can get up and running fast. You can tackle your important tasks, from inventory to payments to analytics and more, all in one place. You can also spread your brand's word with built-in marketing and email tools built for you to find and keep new customers. And remember that iconic purple Shop Pay button that's used by millions of businesses around the world? It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. Your customers already know and love it. If you want to see less carts being abandoned, it's time for you to head over to Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/realm. Go to shopify.com/realm. Shopify.com/realm. I love a multi-use beauty product, like an eye/cheek/lipstick. It makes a full face so much easier, plus you only need to bring one product along for touch-ups. And whether you're all about simple mascara and gloss, or you love to play with bold shapes and colors, you gotta have that trusty favorite you turn to for every look. Thrive Cosmetics makes certified 100% vegan and cruelty-free products you can depend on for everything from simple daily wear to show-stopping self-expression. And it's all made with clean, skin-loving ingredients, high-performance and trademarked formulas, and uncompromising standards. And Thrive Cosmetics is beauty that gives back. For every product purchased, they make a donation towards 8 major causes, including social justice organizations and those impacted by cancer and homelessness. It feels good knowing that when I purchase a product, I'm also able to give back to causes that matter to me. And one product I love from Thrive Cosmetics is the Brilliant Eye Brightener. Like I said, I love a product that can have multiple uses, and the Brilliant Eye Brightener is just that. It's an eyeshadow and highlighter stick that's super blendable, and I'm slowly but surely stocking up on the 31 shades that it comes in. Try your new trusty favorites with an exclusive set for our listeners. New customers can get the Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara and a mini-sized Brilliant Eye Brightener at a special set price, with free shipping available at thrivecosmetics.com/thrive. Or save more with 20% off your first order at thrivecosmetics.com/thrive. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/thrive for 20% off your first order.
I tried to do what I could to comfort Matthew, but he was inconsolable, insisting that it was all his fault. Eventually, he just wore himself out. His sobs quieted, and he fell asleep with his head in my lap, his toy dinosaur clutched to his chest. He was gone the next morning. We were all frantic. We searched every inch of the house and bunker, and even the lab. Everything. Every closet, cabinet, rooms I'd never been in before. He must have left, Redbeard said finally. Nothing could have gotten to him without us seeing or hearing something. And then it hit me. I stopped in my tracks. I know where he may be. It's not far, the place where you found me, the night the bombs dropped. Redbeard stood up. I'll send men with you. Oswald shook his head. No, he said. He looked up, eyes cold and glittering. They need to stay. If there's any chance of a cure, it's here. That's more important. If she goes out there, she goes alone. Harvey stared at him. You can't send her out there alone. She's a child, for fuck's sake. Oswald didn't budge. We only have a few men left here, and I can't risk them." "That's bullshit, and you know it. How many times have you told me the needs of the many should outweigh those of the few? If there's any hope of a reversal, it's here in these ruins. This must be secured and protected." I stared at him, shocked at his callousness, that he would just abandon Matthew and I to die. Then I realized he was right. I suited up and went out into the yellow deadlands. Nothing was recognizable. The mansion, by some miracle, still stood, but in a wasteland. The forests were draped with spiderwebs and bloody entrails. Our golden fields reeked of death. The acrid tang of toxic smoke burned my eyes and nose. I realized there were chemical plants burning, factories, gas stations, who knows? In the distance, billowing clouds of bone smoke churned up toward sickly clouds. They were burning the dead by the hundreds in the cities. The next hours were a blur of death. I stumbled forward, trying to keep sight of landmarks. Most were too hard to see through the amber haze. Others were shrouded in webs. I went by the rising slope of the land, which I knew by heart. Somewhere in the distance, I heard the scream of a queen slaughtering a rival, and then closer, the screech of something that has never been human. I found Matthew curled up beside the wishing well, the fox statue in his hands, a pile of shredded penny roll wrappers beside him. He looked up as I approached, tears making clean streaks through the dirt on his face. I knelt and hugged him. "What are you doing out here? We were so worried." "I wanted to wish Mama back," he sobbed. "She told me I could control things." I sat beside him, hugging him, telling him again and again that it wasn't his fault. Eventually, I seemed to get through. He quieted a bit. "I could see them," he said, "moving through the trees last night. There's so many of them now." "Come on," I said. "Let's go home." As we started walking, we happened to cross the spot where I left Estelle. I noticed something on the ground, a single black feather. I picked it up, staring at it, and then noticed a blood-stained bullet fragment nearby. These things bound her to me. I felt her presence when I held them. "Stay here," I told Matt. I walked over to where I saw the scorpion holding her. At first, I didn't see anything. Then I spotted her jeans and sneakers beneath some branches and rubble. I moved the debris aside gingerly. Spiders had carried her eyes into the forest. The crows took her ghost off into the wind. But I felt traces of her presence, as though she was watching me from elsewhere. I knew exactly what to do, though what instinct guided me I cannot say. I planted her teeth beneath a rising full moon in the rows of her corn. Her fingers I planted with the russet potatoes. Her head went into the soil near the still, murky pond where she had once taught me about mushrooms. Matthew watched silently. When I finished, I went into the dark house and found Rufus meowing at me. I took him outside and shut the door. Then I burned the place to the ground. As Matthew and I stood watching the flames, I looked down and realized I was standing in a patch of white-fringed orchids. I bent down and picked them, one by one, weaving them into a loose circle. I looked up at the skies, where Mama waits in billowing bone smoke, mouth a silent farewell. It is my turn now to be the Spring Queen, Mama. Come on, I told Matthew. We started walking home. We only got a short distance down the path when we saw the giant assassin bugs moving through the dead trees. They were the size of cars. Neither of us would have a chance against those snapping jaws. I froze, stopping Matthew with an arm. What do we do? He whispered. I think we'll have to go around. I paused, thinking of the network of trails. There's another trail we can take. It comes out in the field on the other side of the house near the storm cellar. What storm cellar? I didn't answer, just sped my steps. We both moved as quickly as we could. I couldn't wait to get out of there, to get away from the trees shrouded with webs. Nothing moved or threatened us, but we both noticed the sky darkening in the distance. Thick clouds drew in, covering the moon and stars. I couldn't see much, but I could tell by the occasional patch of clear sky that they were moving fast. The air felt strange suddenly. Electric. I think there's a storm coming, I told Matthew. I don't dare run, as I think we may attract something. Just walk fast. We almost made it. As soon as we emerged from the woods into the cornfield, I heard the telltale screech of a train. The monstrosities across the fields felt it too. The beasts, the unholy things, and they drove forward, seeking shelter, seeking refuge. One horizon roiled dark and deadly because of weather, the other moved with arthropods. An unearthly screech echoed over the fields. I looked in the direction it had come from and saw a monstrosity the size of a house staring at us from across the field. It looked like some type of earwig. "What is that?" Matthew whispered. "I don't know," I said. And then a different voice coming from behind me. "Run!" I turned and found Jamie standing there. A rush of mixed emotions rose through me. Relief that he was alive, anger, pain. I'm not sure how to feel about seeing him, but there wasn't time to ponder it then. The storm drew closer, charnel winds tugging at my hair. The horizon blurred in the distance. It was too dark for me to see where it was, how big it was, but I could feel it in every cell of my being. He looked back toward the churning sky, then turned to face me, shouting a single word. "Run!" I heard crashing and chittering approaching through the fields. Do not stop, do not think, do not hesitate. I knew Matthew couldn't run fast enough to outpace the storm. I picked him up and ran, tearing off. Jamie was a blur of movement beside me. I tired quickly with Matthew's weight. The ground was muddy after a rain, which didn't help. It wasn't long before I slowed down, my legs burning. I could hear screeching and crashing behind me. Jamie urged me on, so close it sounded like he was right behind me. "Go!" I was weak and tired, but dug deep and somehow found the energy to sprint the last bit of distance to the storm cellar. I'm stronger because of the training, I think. I am stronger because he let them try to kill me. The screeching winds drew closer. Across the field, another line of darkness moved towards us. When we reached the storm cellar, I nearly dropped Matthew trying to put him down. My lungs burned. My sore leg throbbed. I bent over, lungs heaving for air. I saw a blur of movement pass me as Jamie walked by. I assumed he was opening the door. When I looked up, there was no one there. I froze, looking around. There was no sign of Jamie. I called out hesitantly. "Jamie!" The wind took my voice. The train sound was getting closer. I looked at Matthew. I had to shout to be heard. "Where did he go?" Matthew looks confused. "Where did who go?" "Jamie. He was right with us." The wind reached us then. I turned around calling, "Jamie! Jamie!" "Who's Jamie?" Matthew looked around. I looked down at the muddy ground. There was only one set of fresh tracks. Movement churned in the field. A lump rose in my throat. "They must have got him," I said quietly. Matthew pointed towards the field. I could make out a shape moving above the corn. A massive beetle of some sort. "I don't know what you're talking about," Matthew said. "But they're going to get us if we don't get inside." There wasn't enough time to look or explain. We had to get inside. I raced to the trapdoor, relieved to find it closed but not chained. Matthew froze, staring at the graffiti Jamie and I painted on the doors. The gates of hell. "What is that?" "Just a joke," I said. I turned to see the beetle approaching. It was maybe 20 yards away and moving fast. Go! Hurry! It was down into the cool darkness then, a scramble down the stairs as the skies raged into chaos behind us and the shrieking wind came closer. I pulled the sliding lock into place just as the beast reached the door. "Look for a flashlight," I yelled. "There's a bookcase in the far left corner. There's usually one there." I heard Matthew rustling around and then the light snapped on. "Got it. Shine it over here. We have to secure this door a little better. I think there's a bar somewhere." Matthew pointed the beam right beside me. I saw the old wooden plank and rushed to slide it into the brackets. The door was shaking so hard that I held my breath, sure it would pull open, but then the bar slid into place and I heaved a sigh of relief. Matthew curled himself around me. I held him close. "We're safe here," I said. "There's probably even some food and water. Hand me the light." As soon as I shone it around, I saw the web-covered bundle in the corner. A sick feeling rose into my stomach. I knew who it was before I tore into the shrouded webbing. Jamie's lifeless eyes staring into the heavens. My heart rose into my throat. I swallowed. My voice sounded thin and weak. "When we were running," I asked Matthew quietly, "did you see anyone else?" He shook his head. "There was no one with us." My wails melted into the raging wind. Matthew and I huddled together as the winds tore the toxic sky to pieces. We stayed there long after the storm had passed. Only when we saw pallid sunlight coming through the door did we step into the sallow day and stumble back to the house in silence. The days after that blurred together, a wretched succession of terrible hours blending into one another. I had strange dreams, entangled alien visions of light and sound. My bones and joints ached. The beast took Oswald down on a pale August morning. I was in my room, reading, when Harvey knocked on the door. We were living in the house by then, mostly as we had a better view from there of what was going on around us. There were more of the deadlings by then. Occasionally, one rose from the bone fields or stumbled out of the woods. We knew what they were. Puppets, really. Incubators to the parasitic beasts, using them as both clothing and food. Matthew and I were forbidden to leave the grounds. We didn't want to by then. We knew what was out there. Still, I was surprised to find Harvey approaching me. He cleared his throat. "Come with me. There's something I think you'll want to see." He brought me up to the tower, which offered a different perspective than my balcony, and handed me a set of binoculars. I looked down into the cornfield and saw a tiny figure, ant-sized from my perspective, running through the fields, trying to outrun some of the soldier beetles. Oswald. The beasts gained on him quickly. Like me, he wasn't fast enough to escape his hunters. I looked at Harvey, confused. "Shouldn't you help?" Harvey shook his head. "Let them chase him," he said. "Let them tear the meat from his bones. He should die. This is his doing." I believed him. Something moved beyond the trees, something massive. I saw what I at first thought were branches moving. Then I saw the behemoth. It was some sort of solifuge. It looked like a giant tick. Its mouth was comprised of circles of fangs, some of which dropped body parts as it moved. Oswald stopped short when he saw it. Then he tried to run the other way, only to find another wave of giant insects pouring out of the woods. Slowly, he turned back to face the beast and fell to his knees before it. I heard the walkie click on. A staticky voice sought Harvey's approval.
"Should we intervene?"
Harvey replied into the mouthpiece of his headset. "No. Stand down. That thing's too big for bullets. Besides, I think it's done for." As we watched, a wave of massive animals, some sort of coyotes, surrounded the arachnid and Oswald. Neither of them stood a chance. The creatures were on them in a moment, ripping and tearing into flesh. One group converged on the tick thing, the other clustered around Oswald in a feeding frenzy. A single scream carried back over the wind. I remember seeing the shadow of one of the giant vultures passing over the field. By the time it crossed the river, Oswald was dead, the dead golden fields stained with blood. Harvey squinted, the sour daylight reflecting on his glasses. He deserved worse, he mused. This was his doing. I watched the beasts feast on him, slavering over him, tearing his insides to pieces. They made quick work of his corpse, feasting on his last meal, giving that tuna sandwich a second use. I remember looking at the leader as it crouched over his body. It raised bloody jaws and fixed me with a razor stare. Its eyes burned into me, blood black and bulging with devoured dreams. I could smell the stench of death on the air. The thing threw its head back and howled. The sound was a lightning bolt to my brain. I heard the music start then. That was the moment I awakened. The moment I knew. I have had 3 mothers, and I have known 3 deaths. Mama taught me about love and laughter and lies, about drive and destiny and control. She showed me that even pure souls can be bought, not with money, but with comfort and safety. Estelle taught me that we are all one. It takes all of us to make this picture, she often said, pointing at the horizon. My 3rd mother taught me to kill. I remember fading in and out as the metamorphosis began. I knew from the beginning that my death would be different from Mama's, different than the others. In one moment, I looked at the ceiling, at the harsh white light. The air stank. I heard the song. I was boiling hot, felt the sweat beading on my forehead, then freezing, shivering. Harvey found me in the kitchen, staring into the cupboards. I knew I should eat, but I wasn't hungry at all. I heard a step, turned and glanced at him, then looked back. The changes were happening faster by then. The words felt fat and sluggish on my tongue. Have you seen Matthew? I told him to sweep the driveway, Harvey said. He didn't do his homework. I could have laughed at the absurdity of that, but there was nothing funny about sending a child outside alone in this wasteland. Harvey's apathy stunned me. I realized he didn't even care. He never had. A dead thing in gray shuffled past the back fence, a puppet to the beast within it. I watched it go, nonchalant. Then I turned to Harvey. The men in the gray pajamas, who were they? Silence. Were they prisoners? Most were lifers, men who never would have walked free. Some were on death row, a few volunteered. They got perks here, bigger rooms, better food, cable TV. Their families also got money. That's why most of them did it. It was for the good of humanity. They had a chance to repent, to pay their debts. He ran his hand through his shaggy hair, then moved to the ice cream freezer. Do we have any ice cream left? Repent? I couldn't even process what he was saying. By becoming hosts for monsters? That wasn't the original experiment. He got up and opened the ice cream freezer, pulling out the last container, plain vanilla. My rage, like the eyes of the beast, is blood black. How would you know? Harvey spooned ice cream into his mouth. Know what? You said you didn't know what they were doing on the lower levels. You told me it was Oswald's doing, but you did, didn't you? You knew all along. Harvey had clearly forgotten the lie. He froze, knowing himself caught, then put the container down. His voice, when he spoke, was ice cold. Do you know how lucky you and Matthew are to even be alive right now? I gave you everything. I only had one rule, no pets. And you broke that vow. What was it we were forbidden? blood or bone or tears or just truth. He turned to face me. As he did, the sun peeked out temporarily from behind the yellow clouds, briefly illuminating his face. I saw the sheen on his skin, the faintest tinge of purple. I knew immediately what it meant. Silence hung thick. "I'm sorry," Harvey said. "I'm really sorry. I was trying to do something great." I think he was actually sincere. The thought only infuriated me more. "Apologize to the dead," I told him. The words tasted like poison. Harvey looked at me incredulous, defensive, utterly lacking remorse. "We were at war." I looked outside. "Corpses don't win wars, Harvey," he coughed. I did this all for her." Was it? Was it for her? Was it for them, your allies, your brothers, your God? Or was it really just for you? "You brought insects into this house," he said. "If there is blame, you must accept some of it yourself. This is on you." Fury rose through me, volcanic. I saw the gleam of the knife, the telltale sick tint of his skin. Do not fear. Do not think too hard. Do not hesitate. I picked up the knife and stabbed him in one quick motion. He didn't resist. He didn't have time. I shoved the knife through his eye, aiming for the terrible mind behind it. He stared at me with his remaining eye, lurched to one side, but somehow stayed on his feet and stumbled back a few steps, crashing into the wall and sliding down it. He landed with a thump, his legs sticking straight out in front of him. His head lolled back against the wall. He gurgled a stream of dark blood that looked like oil in the moonlight. I hovered over him so that my words would fall like stones through what remained of his soul. "Beware, for I am fearless, and therefore powerful." He looked up, confused. I could see his thoughts swirling, stilling as the life drained from his eyes. Victor Frankenstein also had worthy goals when he created his monsters. Defeating death, I told him. The song rose through the air and through my blood. "Do you hear that?" I asked him. "They are rising again, as will you. Before that storm touches the ground you've poisoned, your rotting eyes will open. You too will claw your way back through the dirt with green, bloating fingers. You will stand with the dead, and you will fall with them, as you should." He mumbled and screamed, or tried to. His eyes bulged, sweat beaded on his forehead. He made a little kick like a child throwing a mini tantrum. Then he twitched, and the beating, throbbing heart that never moved to music or emotion stilled. I buried him the next day. When I was done, I burned the book on the bonfires, just like she taught me. Then I stood and faced the sky alone, as we all must at some point or another. She calls us when the moon goes dark. Like the others, I turn to the rising moon and shuffle forward. I see her in the distance, moving from one copse of web-filled trees to another. She stands with the others as the skies turn green and then black and the winds rise, making the corn ripple like waves. I hear her coming through the shadows behind me, and I step silently aside, looking away until she has finished laying her eggs. Terrible, shiny pincers reach for me. I am pulled into her embrace, pulled into the air. This is my third death. When I next wake, I am being carried along. It takes me a moment to realize that I'm moving because the gait and motion is so strange. It isn't the smooth roll of a car or the comforting rhythm of a horse. I open my eyes but see nothing. Everything is white, as though I am in a cloud or cotton ball. I try to move, loosen the silk around my eyes. Every now and then, I catch a glimpse of a brightness I assume is the sun. everything fades again. When I wake the next time, I'm no longer moving. There's nothing below me. I, too, am one of the cocoons hanging in the trees. I can't move. I struggle, panicked. My body is changed, harder. My fingers are claws now, sharp and hard. Sharp enough to cut myself free. I float down to the earth on a silken strand. The song is everywhere now. It is right for such sound to play beneath the miasma of gray-brown clouds and yellow dust. Its discordant beauty is the soundtrack to the great unwinding. There are others awakening, others transforming along with me, but none are like me. I have risen as queen. My scent marks my royalty. I join their mass consciousness as naturally as a drop of water entering the sea. They all bow to me, not just the spiders and scorpions in Solifuge, but the beetles, weevils, cockroaches and termites, flies, gnats, midges and mosquitoes, mayflies, ants, bees and wasps, butterflies and moths, the reptiles and amphibians. They rush to protect me even as the colors drain from our eyes. They come, moving forward like a velvety, multi-legged carpet, and I am carried along on a tide of carapaces and thoraxes, of sharp fangs and pincers. They lift me into an old cottonwood tree, hauling me up on ebony pincers. We hear the sacred song as our ears rot off. We see the secret colors as our eyes bulge and bleed. Our tongues burst open with sable words. The others cluster around me, clicking, reaching out to gently touch me with their pincers. Some still have human faces, their skulls fused into a mix of cephalothorax and human features. 2 more horns burst from my skull. My tongue swells as I gasp for breath. That night, I walk with them, the spiders a living carpet around us. We pass the fields where Estelle's cracked, busted teeth gleam in the stalks, replicated perfectly in the new corn. Her eyes stare out from the beds of emerald clover. Here and there, I see her yellow bones rising through the dirt. I understand that she is somehow telling me that we will persist. The air is warming now, and the snow is gone. It is time to sow the fields. It is time to plant the cursed dead. The beautiful monstrosities will fall slouching and famished upon cities filled with fools as the forests wither and die around them. The cocoons and hives will burst, and the gray cold lords with their purpled skin and rotted eyes will darken the horizon. Not human anymore, not really. Just animated nurseries for the 8-legged gods growing inside them. Harvey will stand with them, as he should. His rotting eyes will open, and he will claw his way through black dirt with greenish, bloated fingers. All is as it should be, Osiris whispers through the poisoned wind. I move with my kin, driven by 2 purposes, to create and to kill. We scuttle forth into the dawn as billowing clouds of bone smoke smear the horizon, rising over empty fields and silent forests. Now and then I recall something of myself, of what I was and what I should be. But though I recall emotions, I no longer truly feel them. All I taste in the corpses I feed upon is rage, the last emotion I know. Ghosts whisper through the fog. We turn to the north and move into the Deadlands. We stumble through marsh and mud, through fen and forest, to a place that has no name. The word home is nothing more than a vague memory of a shack on a windswept beach. I need to find a place where Jamie's babies can grow. But first, I've a vigil to sit. Harvey rises, as do the others. He isn't Harvey anymore. He isn't exactly undead. His flesh is animated by parasites, not by unholy force. But I will not leave him on the surface of the earth. My pincers slice through his flesh, I leave the corpse for the others. The wind is rising. As I move forward, scuttling forth on 8 gleaming legs, I look and see Matthew on the balcony of the mansion. Redbeard stands behind him. I wave once, and he bows in return. Someday, he will be king of his world as I am queen of mine. We look at each other for a moment, nodding in a silent goodbye. And then I turn east, leading the lumbering beasts slouching across the horizon into the new age. The harvests are rotting in the field.
And that was part 5 of Carrion Harvest, wherein the 3 deaths of Sprout have finally been revealed. And as she meanders onward with her monster spider friends into the wilds beyond, is humanity extinct or just a precursor to a greater species? Whether this is really the end or just the end of the beginning, well, that's up to you. But either way, we are closing out our trio of nightmares here on Undertow. Hope to catch you next time. Carrion Harvest was written by Morgan Sylvia, performed by Jessica Taige, with editing and sound design by Rory O'Shea. Produced by yours truly, Fred Greenhalgh, as a Dagaz media production for Realm. Undertow is a production of Realm, hosted by Fred Greenhalgh. Executive produced by Fred Greenhalgh and Molly Barton.
Welcome to Gotham, Jimmy. It's not as bad as it looks.
DC and Realm present.
Our vigilante, or Batman, as he's called, possesses extraordinary physical skill.
DC High Volume Batman.
Fear. I have to make them afraid. I shall become a bat.
Look there. What the hell?
The Dark Knight's definitive DC Comics stories.
He's got a motorcycle. Get after him or I'll have you shot.
Take him down.
Adapted directly for audio for the very first time.
Thinks he's a damn Robin Hood.
He dies.
Looks like it's just you and me now, Phil Cooney.
Hit the floodlight. It's showtime. New episodes every Wednesday. Follow and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Batman hasn't attacked anybody. What do you mean, blow up the building?
From this moment on, none of you are safe. DC High Volume Batman. Available now.
I'm Amy Nicholson, the film critic for the LA Times.
And I'm Paul Scheer, an actor, writer, and director. You might know me from The League, Veep, or my non-eligible for Academy Award role in Twisters.
We love movies, and we come at them from different perspectives.
Yeah, like Amy thinks that, Joe Pesci was miscast in Goodfellas, and I don't.
He's too old. Let's not forget that Paul thinks that Dune 2 is overrated.
It is.
Anyway, despite this, we come together to host Unspooled, a podcast where we talk about good movies, critical hits,
fan favorites, must-sees, and in case you missed them.
We're talking Parasite to Home Alone.
From Grease to The Dark Knight.
We've done deep dives on popcorn flicks. We've talked about why Independence Day deserves a second look.
And we've talked about horror movies, some that you've never even heard of, like Ganja and Hess.
So if you love movies like we do, come along on our cinematic adventure.
Listen to Unspooled wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget to hit the follow button.